And there we go, our count for women here at the Pontius Memorial Criterium.
Welcome back to A Faster Me. Thanks for tuning in to one of the last crits of the season. This is Chuck Pontius Criterium put on by GoFast. So I've never been out to this course before. And we had a very small field today. I think there was 8 pre-registered and only 6 people showed up. So definitely different racing than what most of the season has been like. So that definitely changes the dynamics of things when you have a large group versus a very small group like this. The course is basically 3 corners, kind of a triangular shape, but one of the corners kind of has 2 corners with a little hill on it, kind of right after the start finish. So I really liked the course, just it was pretty fast. The hill, you felt it definitely. It was only a couple % grade, but then the rest of the course is pretty fast and flowing. So I like the course layout. And
yeah, you can kind of see the course in the upper left-hand corner there. So yeah, it's a little bit of a unique shape. Really, there's only like 2 90-degree turns, and then I wouldn't call it a hairpin because it's pretty open up there, but then it kind of makes like almost an arrowhead shape for the course. But it was really hot out here too. It says it's only 68 degrees because Ellen raced in the morning, but yeah, it's definitely felt a little warmer than the 68. And also, this is GoFast's first race that they're putting on, so just shout out to them for giving us another opportunity to kind of compete and race. And it's a pretty good venue. It was pretty isolated, and parking, all that kind of stuff was nice and convenient. So yeah, it was a good course to come out and try something new on.
And there you saw a little attack by LABA rider Yelana Woods, I think that is her name. So she did a little attack, and when she saw someone was on her, she just kind of shut it down and moved off to the side. So I could definitely take a lesson from that, because I had a couple goals coming into this race of just getting a good start, staying towards the front, and just racing. I'm kind of in off.
There's Laura on a little attack there too.
I think this may be a preem lap.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I think this is lap number 2. They did a preem off the bat. So, like I was saying, I had a couple goals just coming off of a poor race in Manhattan Beach where I just didn't really show up to race and just wanted to ride my bike in the race. So I came out today to kind of finish the season of actually kind of racing my bike, and I did get a good start, but unfortunately I stayed off the front too long, and you'll see there's a lot more time off the front. My purpose was just trying to kind of set a little bit faster pace, and unfortunately not as many people, were kind of coming around, and they were content to let me do the work, so that definitely hurt a little bit later on. But here you see, Laura attacking, and we're kind of spread out, so not maybe drafting as efficiently as we could be.
Yeah, I think honestly, the small field though, it kind of forced you to race, like you said, you're not drafting as efficiently, but yeah, when there's only 6 people in the race, it's kind of hard to draft efficiently because gaps can open. You all have to use pretty much your own power unless you stay right on the wheel. And since Laura attacked from the beginning to get that preem, it just stretched everything out. So I don't think there was anything wrong with the drafting there or anything. It's just how it is when it's a small field. Like, it makes you race. Like, you can't hide. You can't just sit in. It kind of makes you race. So I think that's just part of the dynamics of a small field.
I would agree. And so my other plan was to sit in and draft more efficiently, which, like you said, it's a little bit more challenging in a smaller field. This may have been, I don't remember if it was this lap, where after the preem I looked back and it was just me and Danny, who is pretty good at time trials, and I said, do you want to work? She said, yeah. We just had a small gap on the field, and then at this point And it may not have been this lap. So the field was with us. So anyway, it's kind of hard to see on the small screen or know exactly when things are happening. But what you remember in the race and then what the numbers actually show sometimes are very different. So it felt pretty easy to me, but the numbers that I'm doing are much closer to threshold, which then everyone behind me is saving those watts. And so, it's just less efficient. But I was kind of thinking, I can do a time trial effort, for a good, I could do it for 30 minutes. And so if I was doing zone 2 to, sweet spot, I thought I'd be okay for the end. And this may have been the lap where there was a little gap. I'm not sure if this was another preem lap, but that's Danny. I think she's only done one other crit, maybe the Barry Wolf. And so here I look back, and this is where I say, hey, you want to work? She says, yeah, we had just a small gap. So I'm going to do a pretty hard effort up this hill. But the field was right with us again.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about sweet spot. I don't think I've seen you in your sweet spot for a while. But yeah, I mean, it's a small field, so it's a little unique. It makes you think like, oh, can I just break away? And it's a little different. Like you said, if you're doing sweet spot on the front, it may seem easy, but no matter what you're doing on the front, even if you're just doing zone 1 on the front, anyone in your draft is doing less. So the more work you do on the front, no matter if it's easy or not, it still benefits the field always more than it benefits you. I think if, in hindsight, if you wanted to, do some type of time trial effort, it would have been better to just attack whenever everybody slowed down and try to do that threshold effort solo, opposed to just riding off the front doing a sweet spot effort, because everyone else is still saving energy. At least if you're off the front by yourself, they have to use their own energy to try to catch you.
And I think that's something too of when it comes to race day, sometimes the plans need to go out the window depending on conditions. So those conditions could be the weather, and if the wind is really strong, that may change strategy. A much smaller field could change strategy, because I definitely think that, yes, maybe you can kind of break the field up doing like an attack effort instead of just a harder effort, like you were saying. And there, I think Laura took that preem, or just kind of was seeing what she could do.
Yeah, she tried to snag the preem at the line. I'm not sure if she got it for sure or not, but yeah, that was her attempt to just snag the preem last second. So yeah, it was a good job. And you can see what she did. She accelerated for a second at the line and then shut it down. And I think Ellen thought she was going to attack, so she followed.
Yes, and you could see right there in the shadows, you could see 2 or 3 different shadows behind me, which means that we're spread out kind of across the road. And you'll see that a few times throughout the race of, we're riding sometimes next to each other instead of utilizing the draft, even though there's not too many people to draft from. Sometimes we're all just kind of fighting for those positions, or riding next to each other instead of behind each other.
Yeah, and that's never the efficient way to do it. You can see it here. Ellen's to the right, Laura's in the middle. Danny now goes to the front, which is fine, but for a second, there was 3 riders across, and that just means you're all pushing your own wind. 6 riders in a race, you should almost always be single file.
And about halfway through the race, I changed my kind of strategy of, okay, me doing a lot of work off the front is not what I want to be doing. And so let me just kind of sit back and try to just watch what everyone else is doing, and try to then watch them and be in position to come around at the end.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, like, it's a good strategy, obviously. Anything other than just pulling the group around, I think, is a good strategy. So either going off the front and attacking, and if you don't want to do that, I would still say, sit in to a certain point and just save your energy for the end. You definitely don't want to just, drag around a small field. The best thing to do is just stretch it out, really make it harder, and just 3 people are on the podium no matter what. So if you just reduce the size of the field, you see there's 5 of you racing now because somebody's already dropped. One rider's already dropped, and that's just how it is in a small field like this. Everyone has to push their own watts, so making it hard is sometimes to your benefit.
For sure. So here I am trying to go up. I was debating trying to, get on a wheel, but I just kind of cruise to the front again, and I'm doing about between zone 2 and threshold pretty consistently.
Yeah, and I think too, a lot of people were saying the course was a little harder than they expected it to be. It seems bone flat, but that little kicker, a lot of people said that little kicker was actually pretty taxing, even though it's only a couple hundred yards and it only goes to about 3%, I think. But a lot of people said it was pretty taxing. And then here it's downhill, and you can really gather a lot of speed coming through here, especially like on the last lap. So, yeah, I think part of that, you think it's going to be just an easy, flat race. And there were some tactics that could have been used on this course. In some of the latter races, you'll see people are attacking on the climb a lot. And there was a lot of breakaways on this day. So definitely the course, even though it seems flat and fast, it definitely can set up for some breakaways.
Yes, it definitely seemed, just I think because of the smaller field, we went slower. It did not seem like one of the harder races of the season, because I think we were just kind of maybe playing it a little safe, staying, with the group a little bit more. I'm not sure, but yeah, it definitely felt like a easier race, and I think could have done a lot more work or attacking, which I think that just maybe shows some of the lack of experience just in lower levels. And there goes another little attack that I tried to jump on. I was hoping someone else was doing some work, and she says, nope, I'm just attacking to see if I can break away, and that's it.
Yeah, when she shuts it down, she really shuts it down.
So here I am on the front again, and not wanting to be, because, I was just trying to be on, maybe second wheel, third wheel.
Yeah.
So then here I'm doing just zone 2.
And let's say too, like, that's a great job. I forgot her name, Yolanda.
Ilana.
Yeah, that's a great job, because she's only 13 years old. So just out here competing, with the women and coming out in a small field like this, I think this was gave her a really great chance to just get out and actually compete and not worry about like the big fields or getting dropped or anything like that. She did a great job and competed really well. So, being 13 years old, over these next couple years, I think she's also going to be one of the riders to watch out for.
Yeah, I think I, heard her mom saying that she really loves being out here competing in kind of the junior races in the past. The ages are so spread out, so a lot of times you're just kind of riding more by yourself, where she's really having fun competing, with other people. So, it's great to see young kids out and learning the craft and having fun on the bike, and that's really what it should be about when you're young, is just having fun and not having it kind of the discipline and sometimes maybe the chore that some of the rest of us do with training. And it's more of a workout and discipline versus just pure fun.
Yeah, definitely young riders should just be having fun. They have a long time to decide if they like the sport or if they want to take the sport seriously. So yeah, when you're 13, you don't need to take it too serious. Just go out and have fun, develop, probably play other sports as well, and see what you like. And when you get a little older, maybe through high school, stuff like that, you can start deciding on what you want to be serious in. So yeah, we're about halfway through the race now. And I think, at this point, I think Ellen's only mistake at this point is just she's been spending way too much time on the front. You can see she's not doing too many watts now, but before this, she was always over 200 watts. And I just think that's a lot of energy and takes a lot out of you, for 15 minutes, dragging the field around, basically. I know she said it felt easy, and it probably still feels easy. But yeah, it's just simply not easy, though. And that's what happens in races. You get a little bit of adrenaline, and you're out there doing your thing, and it feels easy until it doesn't. And yeah, so it's a great job competing. It's a great job showing leadership and just being out there and like being a factor in the race. But also, I think some of the other girls are benefiting just being drug around the course. Anyone that's ever tried to go out, even on a flat road, and just average 20 miles per hour for 30 minutes or whatever, it's pretty hard to do. And for the first 15 minutes of the race, Ellen's pretty much, probably spent the most time on the front. So it's not an easy race, even though you said it didn't seem that hard. It's really just not that easy for a small field or a solo rider to just average 20 miles per hour.
And I didn't point it out when Laura took the front. She did a little movement to avoid the reflector in the ground. So the reflectors throughout the course were pretty, I don't know.
They're pretty, they're pretty high. They're like a inch and a half high or something. They're really just on the front straight. You'll see them when they come back around on the front straight. But, they're always in the way, it seems like. There's only 6 riders on the course this time, so they should be able to avoid them. But, when you hit something like that, especially if your bike's leaned over a little bit, it just disrupts your rhythm, stuff like that. But you'll see when they're on the front straight, the reflectors are, for whatever reason, they're pretty, they're raised pretty high.
Yeah, pronounced, a big bump. So here I was just following, I'm not sure if Abby is her name, Birdworks, off kind of to the side. So just kind of following her lines around, just, she was taking a little bit of a wider turn, but just kind of working on taking the line of whoever I'm following. So at this point, I'm really thinking like, okay, my initial strategy of kind of making it fast is not going so good. So now I just need to sit back and just watch what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, Laura actually had the pace up pretty good too, though. So it's kind of funny because, as you can see, there's not you're still doing a decent amount of watts. You're doing close to the same amount of watts you were on the front. Sometimes you were doing a little bit more, but it's always better, obviously, to be in the draft. But since the pace has picked up a little bit, you guys are still putting in some decent power here, so it's still pretty taxing. Here is a little inefficient for you to swing off to the left here, like definitely not getting a draft now and need to kind of slot back in. Like Laura's kind of slotted in there, getting a little bit of protection. And yeah, doing 300 watts is definitely going to tax you a little bit.
Yeah, that little hill was just enough of a factor to be kind of annoying.
Yeah, as you can see too, like they definitely picked up the pace here. And what was her name, Danny? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if she was trying to like actually attack there or get a little gap, but she did come by with some speed. Could be another preem lap as well. But yeah, you definitely can surprise people if you come from the back, carry some speed, and then try a breakaway. And definitely looks like she's trying to get away here.
Yeah, we're stretched out, and I'm assuming it's a preem lap, but who knows? It was really hard to tell when they were announcing preem laps because other people were ringing bells, just right before the start-finish line. And there, I was just trying to be patient and just take the draft, but she was hurt and gave an elbow, and so I just kind of closed the gap to get back up to the field.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a little bit of a dangerous moment if they would have kept the hammer down. But no one came around. So if you see Danny still on the front, so if they would have looked back for a second and saw that there was a gap, they could have just kept going and rotated, worked together, and just kind of pulled away. But, no one came around, so obviously Danny shut it down a little bit.
Yeah, and here you see, we're kind of spread out almost two lines of kind of drafting, which this would be great as the front of the peloton if we had a much larger group. But this is our group.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think the writer from Birdworks, I'm not sure if she's a big fan of drafting. Just throughout the race, it looks like she's rode to the left a little bit, or not a little bit, almost the entire race. She just kind of rode to the left side of whoever's on the front. And that's the same thing. Like, it may seem kind of easy at the time, but that's very taxing. And I think she would have had she finished well. She finishes on the podium. So, but I think she would have had a little bit more energy left if she would have just drafted a little bit better sometimes. She's just kind of off to the side. This is an issue Ellen's always had throughout her race careers. Ellen always sits to the side of the podium and just kind of eats a lot of wind, does her own effort. The peloton, said podium. But yeah, so I just think being tucked in a little better would have saved some energy, and she could have probably had a little bit more at the finish.
Yeah, definitely a challenge sometimes to figure out how to be the most efficient. And I'm thinking kind of right now that the outside is not really where I want to be for the finish, because we're about 22 minutes in, and I'm just kind of thinking of where I want to be and where I want to make a move for the finish, because I'm at this point still feeling pretty comfortable in the race. Did not feel too hard.
Yeah, I can tell by your heart rate. You're not dying or anything. Your heart rate's comfortable. I think this is one thing too that just kind of taking it for granted a little bit. When it's a small field and you let people hang around, anything can happen. I mean, if you look at how the ladies are racing here, you guys seem pretty evenly matched. It's really just up to strategy now, and anything can happen. Like, you get a little jump here, it's going to be hard to catch someone. Again, there's no big peloton, so there's no speed advantage from the group or anything like that. It's really just, tactics and timing.
Definitely. In hindsight, I think I would have had a much better chance of doing an attack or two and just trying to time trial. But, I maybe didn't have I don't know if it's the courage or the, changing the strategy partway through a race, and, knowing how things are going to go out after seeing, video, reflecting. It's kind of easy to think of what you could have or should have done, but all you really have is the moment in the race, and what happens.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and there's no guarantees in racing, so It's really just trusting your fitness, going out competing, and you try what you try. Either it works or it doesn't. It's no big deal, to be honest with you. I think sometimes we get caught up into just worrying about the result too much, when really it's just about competing. As long as you go out and you compete and you gave yourself a chance, that's just what it is. Like you said, you have to do it right now, at the moment. There's no second chances really until the next race.
And then the next race is going to be completely different. So sometimes the strategies, goals, everything else changes based on the situation.
Yeah, I think this might be the second and last lap. We might be coming into 1 lap to go or 2 laps to go. I can't recall. But we're getting definitely close to the end. You can kind of see too, like, you know, people's body language is getting a little, a little more urgency. You see, Danny was at the back of the race, majority of the race, but these last couple laps, she's been at the front. There goes another attack there. But yeah, you can definitely tell that it's getting close to the end now. Yeah, I don't know, but you can see the lap counter over to the left. I don't know if it's going to be big enough to see it or not. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're going into 2 laps to go here. Yeah, definitely couldn't see it.
Couldn't even see that there was a lap counter there.
Yeah. So yeah, just judging by the time, it's probably, there's 1 to go now. After this, there's one more lap to go after this, I believe. I don't know how many minutes they're doing a lap though. So I want to say it was pretty close to 2 minutes a lap.
Yeah, I think my fastest was 1:48. And here you see us all spread out again.
Yeah, and it's funny because being that it's such a small group, you know, normally when you're coming down to the last lap or two, everybody's fighting for position, which is similar to what they're doing now. Everybody's fighting for position. But really, in a group that's so small, you're never really out of position, you know. You can be second, third, even fourth wheel here, and you're still in great position. I think it's just more important right now to be behind another rider in the draft, especially for these last couple laps, and just saving as much energy as you can, because you know the big VO2 effort's about to happen. And I believe, yeah, so there's 1 more lap to go after this. But yeah, you definitely need to be tucked in now. Everybody's just using the same energy or their own energy, and anyone that can get a couple seconds rest, it's going to benefit them.
And that's another thing too. We saw it a number of times in different races when there was lapped riders. You know, one strategy is to go by them quickly, and you know, then there's times where the lapped riders get back in and they're in the field, and that can change the dynamics also.
Yeah, I think here you got to not be off to the side, just be behind someone. You kind of move in now and slot in here, but definitely you guys are going a lot faster. You're going 2 miles per hour faster than you had been before. Doesn't seem like you know, much, but the watts are definitely a lot higher for a smaller group to carry more speed.
Yeah, so you see everyone's intensity is picked up a little bit, and you know, you really need to be first coming into that very last corner. And here I think I should stay on Laura's wheel. She's, you know, in a good position, and I scoot over just a little bit, and then I think I'm trying to just go around here, and I think this is the beginning of my first mistake.
Yeah, I think you're still in good position here. You're actually in really good position here. Just from my point of view, like from what I see in the video, I think where you make the mistake is right here on this next turn. You really need to hug the riders, stay with it, and you just run wide here. And when you run wide here, as you can see, the gap just grows. And I think Danny does a great job, because I think the best tactic for this course is 2 sprints. There should be 1 sprint right here to get to the last corner first, and then 1 sprint to the line.
And here I think, you know, I needed to go in between the 2 riders, because you see me, I completely stopped pedaling, just back off a little bit, and then I'm trying to sprint and just don't have enough time because it's so short. But congratulations to Danny, and Laura came in second, and I think Abby is her name from Birdwork. So
yeah, and you can see all that work that you were doing earlier kind of hurt your sprint, because you can sprint at over 800 watts and kind of barely hit 600 there. So, yeah, good job though. Good race. It's kind of fun.
We'll see you next time.
Good job out there.
Nice work, you too.
That was fun.
I know. A weird race.
Yeah.